Good morning and welcome to Frontiers of Knowledge segment of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. Sometimes we wonder at the miracle of nature and those facts come to our knowledge, to our information that we couldn't even imagine. We are aware that our gut in the human body, is practically a storehouse of viruses. But what they do is still a mystery, most of them. Yet, our health, our temperament, our mood, all this depends on the gut. Human gut is one of the most vital organs. But one thing which is amazing is that till now, we knew that some viruses are there, mostly connected with digestion and things like that. But now the scientists have identified more than 70,000 viruses in human gut. And these viruses were never known before. These unknown viruses that live in the human gut and they infect the bacteria that they live there. Now, bacteria is both good and bad. Although the scientists have been able to identify more than 70,000 new viruses, actually they are not new but newly identified, they still have not been able to identify their impact on the body. The gut microbe are the community of microbes that we carry around in our digestive system. They do have an important role in food digestion and regulating our immune system. As a matter of fact, these gut microbes are linked to the imbalances leading to conditions including liver damage, obesity, allergies. But shockingly, despite all the progress in Medicare, there is little known about microbe, and they include basically a variety of microorganisms, including bacteria and viruses. In the new study, this group of researchers used a new method called metagenomics, and this method was used to identify the viruses. Now, this method involves analyzing all the genetic material from the community of microbes together and then mapping out their individual sequence. Now imagine the work that must have undergone. You group 70,000 viruses, identify the genetics of each one. And this study was done in 28 countries spread all over the globe to have a representative sample. And more than 28,000 gut microbes samples were taken, and this process revealed complete genomes of more than 140,000 species. Now, 70,000 new were discovered, and earlier also they had said about 70,000 viruses are there. So, total is more than 140,000 species of viruses who have made human gut their home. And that's why the diseases that afflict mankind are so varied. Doctors go by the general treatment, but each disease has sub diseases, and those have sub diseases, and the string goes on. A single person carries out normally a fraction of those species, but when it gets spoiled, then there's no limit. Though many of the bacteria, viruses live in the gut, the scientists have focused only on those viruses that can infect bacteria called bacteriophages. Now, this is something which is missing. Today, they say that they are identified a few out of more than 140,000 bacteria, viruses living. And they say only a fraction of them impacts bacteria. But who knows? Until and unless you analyze all the more over 150,000 viruses, you cannot be sure that this virus can infect the bacteria and this cannot. No scientist has revealed till today the methodology of selection of the virus. But by itself, this is a great information insofar it adds to our knowledge. And maybe this is a pointer to the scientists to study further on. Now, these bacteriophages could potentially help us mitigate the rising threat of antibiotic resistance. A team of researchers has identified a way to fight antibiotic resistant bacteria. And what happens is that bacteria which helps you fight antibiotic and make this body antibiotic resistance. It takes refuge in the remote part of human gut. They're probiotic because they don't create illness where they hide. Now this is the beauty. They hide in a place and they don't create illness there, but they create illness in the other parts of the body. As they say, the dog keeps his surroundings clean. So they invade other parts of the body from the intestinal refuge and cause a huge number of troublesome infections. So the bacteria phage to fight this bacteria is done by screening for it in the human sewage. And it has properties. It breaks into difficult to access refuge where bacteria hide in our intestines. And that's why diseases like E. coli that live inside us and are a kind of ticking bomb waiting for our immune system to be compromised. To, the moment some infected food comes in, the bomb explodes and voila, you are diseased. So that is something. And it's amazing. These two studies, one identification of more than 140,000 viruses, and the other, the bacteria hunting viruses, hide inside our body. So gut is the main culprit. The major culprit is gut. And now to animals or insects or whatever you call it, do you know that the snakes, they say, are very poisonous and they sting. But there is another thing which is very horrifying. What the snakes do is they insert their heads into the living frogs' bodies. Don't eat frogs. They insert themselves in the body of the frog and eat the organs. This is a special kind of a snake called kukri snake, based on the kukris of Nepalese. It's a knife-toothed snake, and this is revealed that according to the snake, the tastiest part of the frog are its organs, liver, and others. So what they do, they go in the body, slice out the body cavity, and they eat it, and all the time the frog is still alive. So this was seen for the first time in Thailand. And this observation naturally excited the scientists. And then they say that some snakes were observed that first they had the organs, then they withdrew their head and swallowed the frog who had become weak. So now the scientists, the zoologists are considering why would they extract the living animal's organs first? So these cookie snakes in Thailand, in Taiwan, they are pursuing amphibian organ meals. They take those organs of those animals, those who live both on the land and in the sea, like frogs. So they tear open the frogs and toads' abdomens, bury their heads inside, and eat them. And some even perform the death roll while clutching its prey. And the death roll is so that the organs become loose and they can take it. Interestingly, there are 83 varieties of kukri snakes, and they're all in Asia, nowhere else in the world. They are more than 3 feet in length. And as I said earlier, the name comes from kukri, the curved dagger like instrument of Nepal. And the shape of the kukri resembles the snake's large, highly modified rear teeth. The snakes also use their teeth for slicing into eggs, but they are formidable slashing weapons. And the biggest victim are frogs and even crocodiles. Interestingly, they have been seen to enter the bodies of the crocodiles, eat the organs, and come out. And then another one, octopus. We say octopus like grape and things like that. You would be aware that octopus's arms are in fact the light. The octopus can see, and the light is provided with their arms. So all the 8 arms, the 12 of the octopus are basically 8 arms. They are the bulbs of the light, and so they can curve their arms, change the direction of the light, focus it wherever they want. And they can see the light with their arms even when their eyes are in the dark, especially under the sea when there's no light. The arms of the octopus detect light, and to create this light, octopus withdraws these arms near the body. It is observed by the zoologists that octopuses generally have a very poor sense of their body in the space. So this complex instinctive behavior helps them protect their arms from the predators who want to kill them. Scientists have long known that octopus arms react to light, but they didn't know that not only they react to life, they create life. The skin of the octopus is covered in pigment-like organs that reflect light and then change the color of light. Can you believe it? We used to think that not only the light is emitted, but even the color can change according to the situation. There's some chameleon-like quality. The chameleon changes its shape according to the environment. They change the light according to the need. And that is in fact responsible for octopus color changing camouflage superpowers. The European Academic Center in Israel noticed this thing, and this is according to the scientists, one of the ways they are going to develop light that can be worked on the principles of octopus, and that can be helpful for the people working in the dark areas, coal mines, and things like that, because that will enable them to see and be able to explore further where the light goes off or is not available. And now, before we end, a very interesting information has come from Osaka City University. They say that Parkinson's is a disease which has no treatment basically, except partly you can take dopamine and you can have the brain stimulation. But they say that if you eat sesame seeds, there's a chemical in sesame seeds that reduces the risk of Parkinson's and it prevents neural damage. They have tested the chemical and they fed the mice for 36 days and they were amazed. They found that the neurological disorder which makes People lose their balance, makes their hands and the tre- tremble and the speech slurred. But sesame oil, which was derived from sesame seeds, protected against the damage caused by Parkinson's, and believe, based on the experiments with the mice, that it can also cure certain conditions of Parkinson's. The Japanese researchers found that that's very promising, and they are now starting the clinical trials on the human beings on this. Maybe, in India, the concept of using tilpatti and what they call it ravery and things like that is because of that. The way sesame seed is used in India and China is not used in this part of the world. Tahini, for example. And Parkinson's disease affects more than 500 people, 1 in 500, including 1 million in America. It causes muscle stiffness, slowness of movement, tremors, sleep disturbance, chronic fatigue. So this, which has no cure, part cure, they say that the sesame seed oil, if it is used, can be extremely helpful to those people. And they have tested this chemical on living cells and found that it handles the oxidation, stress that damages cells. Actually, it supplies oxygen to the damaged cells of the brain. And this is again, as I said, a groundbreaking result. And along with that, they have found that golf is better in improving balance of human minds, of human beings, rather than the old concept of Tai Chi. Playing a ground of golf is better for improving and maintaining balance, especially for Parkinson's sufferers, because it gives them a certain way of moving, and that creates this balance. So these basically today's was meant for the insect, virus, bacteria, and animals. But I found that this latest study would be of interest to the millions of the people who are suffering from Parkinson's. And that's all for today. We meet next week again. Thank you.